Good Wednesday evening, everybody. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In this live stream today, we're going to be going over the severe weather threat mainly across the southern plains and the Arklatex regions. This is for Thursday, March 16th, 2023. So zooming in here, we're going to be talking about the severe weather, and at the end of the live stream, we'll also veer away from the severe weather, and we will also be talking about the snowfall threat across the northern United States, as well as I see a lot of people in chat worried about some flooding across area rivers. We will be going over some of that as we have warming temperatures potentially towards the end of the month here. So we'll be focusing on up there to the north on the Mississippi River, the Illinois River, the Wisconsin River, stuff like that at the end of this live stream to get you an update on that. So thanks everybody for joining. Press the like button as you are in here with the live stream. I see we got 31 people watching, 33 now. So all you guys, please press the like button. It just helps to get all these people on here, everybody on here to watch the live stream. All right, so getting in here to the severe weather threat, you see this orange shaded color. This is a level 3 of 5. From the Storm Prediction Center, this is actually an enhanced risk. This covers southeastern portions of Oklahoma, much of north and northeast Texas, as well as extreme southwestern Arkansas here. This does include the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, McKinney, Texas, Tyler, Texas, and then in some of these smaller communities, up here in towards southeastern Oklahoma, and we'll name a few here. We got the Ardmore area, Durant, Hugo, the Idabel region, and then down here into North Texas, we include the Denison, Sherman, Texas, Gainesville, Denton, Texas here, McKinney, Plano, Dallas, Arlington, Fort Worth, Mansfield, and then on over here towards Mount Pleasant, Texarkana, Longview, Kilgore, Tyler, Texas, Greenville, Sulphur Springs, Paris, Texas. All you guys are under that level 3 of 5, that enhanced risk for severe thunderstorms as we head through tomorrow afternoon and evening. Now we zoom out the picture just a little bit, we see that yellow shaded color a lot more widespread. That's a level 2 of 5, and that is also otherwise known as a slight risk for severe thunderstorms, and that actually covers a larger area. So this is for eastern and southeastern Oklahoma up here across much of east central Texas, even parts of south central Texas, northern Louisiana into western and southwestern Arkansas. This is just to the south and west of the Little Rock region. So some of the bigger cities into this region will be the Fort Smith, Arkansas, Hot Springs area, getting up here toward the Shawnee, Norman, Oklahoma regions, as well as just south of Tulsa and east of the Oklahoma City metro area. This does include Wichita Falls up here into North Texas. Farther south into south central Texas we go with the level 2 of 5 slight risk. This includes Waco, down into Austin, San Antonio, College Station, the Houston metro area, and then this actually covers more of northern Louisiana up here for the Shreveport region, Monroe, right along I-20 here into northern portions of Louisiana. And again, like I said, this covers most of southwestern portions there of Arkansas, including the National Forest up here just to the east of Mena, Arkansas. So if you guys definitely live in those areas, be on high alert through the day tomorrow. And even that green shade of color, that darker green, does cover the Jackson, Mississippi region down just northwest of Baton Rouge, Beaumont down here into Texas, Corpus Christi down here as well, just east of Abilene. And this also does cover Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Fayetteville, Little Rock. If you guys are in that shade of dark green, that is a level 1 of 5. That is a marginal risk for severe thunderstorms going through the day tomorrow. If you guys are not in the dark green, the yellow, or the orange, that's just a general thunderstorm risk, and that does include areas outside of that, all the way up into the mid-Mississippi Valley, the central Great Lakes states here towards the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa region, and then back westward towards Santa Fe, New Mexico, Lubbock, Texas, places like that as we go through the day tomorrow. So hopefully that's a good breakdown of what you can expect. Now let's go over the hazards of these this kind of severe weather threat going through the day tomorrow, because we have 3 hazards we have to look at: the damaging winds, the large hail, and the tornado threat. And let's look at that currently as it stands right now. So let's look first at the wind threat with this, and it's pretty significant. In that enhanced risk zone, a lot of the wind probabilities go along with your category for severe weather. So if you're in the marginal risk, you have that 5% shading for damaging winds. This includes Little Rock, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Fayetteville, down here to Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Jackson, Mississippi, Corpus Christi, and Beaumont down here and towards those areas. You have a 15% shading for damaging winds within a 25-mile radius if you live in the Killeen area, Waco, Austin, San Antonio, Texas, Houston metro area, College Station, Shreveport, Monroe, up here into the Hot Springs area, on up here just to the east of Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, Fort Worth, if you live in those areas. That is actually, and also I forgot to include Fort Smith, that is a 15% shading of damaging winds in those areas. And then a highest chance of damaging winds so far is that enhanced risk for damaging winds. That's 30%. This includes the Dallas area, Arlington, McKinney, Plano, Texas, on up here into Paris, Texarkana, Longview, Tyler, Texas, here just along and north of I-20. And this also includes the small communities of southeastern Oklahoma, so Durant, Hugo, over to Idabel, and the DeQueen area in the southwestern Arkansas with that 30% area of damaging winds. So the biggest concern for 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts will be in this yellow shaded, or I'll actually draw that in a better shade here. Okay, so in this yellow shaded color here or the red, that's your highest chances for 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, with the highest chances yet in this red shaded color. That'll be across portions of northeast Texas, southeastern portions of Oklahoma, and extreme southwestern Arkansas. You want to be on high alert for wind gusts up to around 70 miles per hour as we go through the afternoon and the evening tomorrow. And again, guys, I will take your questions at the end of the live streams, especially with different segments here. We'll first talk about severe weather, then we'll talk about the winter side, and then I had some people on here worrying about some of the river flooding as well. We'll get to that at the end. So looking at the hail threat now, this is transitioning to the hail threat. So we have that 5% shading for hail, again, in that marginal and parts of the slight risk area. Then we have a 15% shading for hail. That's a little bit higher of a risk for hail. That could be up around quarter, half dollar size with some of these hailstones. That does include the Fort Smith area up here into western portions of Arkansas, east of the Oklahoma City metro area. This includes much of east central and south central Texas, from San Antonio all the way up to Austin, Killeen, Waco, the College Station region, just northwest of the Houston metro area, Longview, Tyler, Texas, Shreveport. You guys are all in the risk for maybe up to quarter, half dollar size hail tomorrow. But then you notice this area here in red. That's a 30% hatched risk for damaging hail. This hatched risk, where you see these dashed lines, that does mean there's a risk for 2-inch or larger diameter hailstones, which is golf ball size or larger, through the day tomorrow. And that actually includes much of southern Oklahoma and North Texas. So this includes the communities in North Texas of Fort Worth, Arlington, Dallas, Plano, McKinney, Flower Mound, the Denton region up here towards Sherman, Texas, Gainesville, the Greenville region, and then in Oklahoma, Ardmore and the Durant area, and then up toward Ada. So if you live in these areas, you definitely want to be on high alert for potentially some damaging hail tomorrow that could be over 2 inches in diameter. So you definitely want to be on high alert through the afternoon and the evening. And finally, we got to look at the tornado threat as we go through tomorrow, because there is a tornado threat here. So let's transition back to that. It's not the biggest tornado threat we've ever seen so far this year, but it is there, so we have to take this into consideration. In the darker greens or the medium greens here, you see a 2% shading of tornadoes, which means there is a chance. Even if it's a low chance, it's still there. This does include much of south central Texas, getting up into northern Louisiana, and we'll outline some of the cities at risk for tornadoes. We got the Waco region down here. We got Killeen, Texas, Austin down here, College Station, just to the northwest of Houston metro area and Galveston, and northwest of Beaumont. This does include the San Antonio region, getting up into Monroe, Louisiana, and even the Pine Bluff area up here into Arkansas. Those are the areas at risk for some tornadoes. Wichita Falls included, Lawton, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, up here towards Norman, Fort Smith, Arkansas, Hot Springs, Little Rock, and Pine Bluff. All you guys are at risk for a tornado tomorrow through the afternoon and the evening. So now we look at the 5% shading for tornadoes in the brown shaded color. This is much of southeastern Oklahoma, southwestern Arkansas, northwest southwestern Louisiana and much of north and northeast Texas. So first, starting up here in Oklahoma, areas at a higher chance for tornadoes than in the green shaded color. This is a 5% shading within a 25-mile radius. This does include the Wilburton, McAllister, Ardmore, Duncan, Ada, the Durant, Hugo, and Idabel regions here right along and north of the Red River. So if you live in these areas into southeastern Oklahoma, do watch your weather forecast through the day tomorrow. Farther to the south, this does include much of north and northeast Texas. This includes Denton, Gainesville, Sherman, Denison, Paris, the Sulphur Springs area, Mount Pleasant, New Boston, getting up here into Texarkana, the Decatur region, Flower Mound, Plano, Dallas, Arlington, Fort Worth, Mansfield, Tyler, Texas, Longview, Kilgore, Marshall, getting down here in towards the Lufkin region, Palestine. If you guys live in those areas, into east central or northeast Texas, want to be on high alert right along I-20 there into the north, and then northwestern Louisiana, some of the communities in that higher chance for tornadoes tomorrow in the 5% shading. This does include Shreveport, Mansfield, Manny, down here into the Minden region, Homer, down here into Spring Hill, and Vivian. So if you live in those areas, definitely want to be on high alert, especially along I-49 and I-20 there toward the Shreveport region. And then finally into southwestern Arkansas, this includes Mena, DeQueen, Hope, and the Magnolia region, and as well as the Texarkana region up here. And this is all south and west of the Little Rock region. So if you live in those areas, be on high alert tomorrow. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive warnings, whether it's a weather radio here, NOAA Weather Radio. If you're watching a live stream tomorrow on YouTube, anywhere, I probably will be going live tomorrow. If you guys are wondering, it will be during the afternoon into the evening hours, sometime during the mid to late afternoon. Probably will be going live to cover this severe weather threat tomorrow. So you want to be on high alert for that. Have your notifications turned on. You can hit the notification bell down below. I will be going live most likely tomorrow covering this threat. So definitely want to have your notifications on for that. So getting back to the general outlook, I'll zoom this out a little bit so you can get your bearings on where exactly you can be at with regards to the threat of severe weather. The brighter the colors, so if you have a dark green area, that's a 1 out of 5. The yellow here is a 2 out of 5, and then a 3 out of 5 on the scale is the highest risk for severe weathers we have so far tomorrow. And this does include north central Texas, northeast Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, and extreme southwestern Arkansas, and the highest risk for severe weather tomorrow that we do have, and that's a level 3 of 5, an enhanced risk. So I'll zoom this out, and you can see where you at in regards to the state and the color here for your area for severe weather, and then we'll break down the timing and the impacts these severe storms will have for your community here in just a couple of minutes, guys. So if you have any questions in the chat, drop them down below. I will welcome all the questions, comments, concerns. If you guys have any of those, let me go through those here for just a few minutes, and then we'll get to the timing and the impacts of the severe thunderstorms through the day tomorrow here in just one moment. So anybody got any questions for me while I'm asking you guys to put down some questions if you guys have any? Otherwise, I will be getting going with more of the timing and the impacts of what you could see through the day tomorrow. Again, I appreciate all the likes out there, guys. Thank you so much for pressing the like button each and every time you join the live stream. My videos in the morning, I'll have a new video update tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So if you're not subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button down below and also pressing that like button. And also, of course, the notification bell goes a long way in receiving the video and the live stream when I do go live. So Linda says, hang on to your ankles, guys. It's going to be a rough one. It's going to be, again, it's nothing that you haven't seen down here across the southern plains, but I just want you guys to be weather aware. Again, an enhanced risk is an enhanced risk. And of course, anywhere in the country, we're going to treat this like a serious threat because an enhanced risk is a level 3 of 5. It's kind of that middle of the road of severe weather categories. So we still have to take this seriously. Even a slight risk and marginal risk, you still want to take seriously. Any probability for severe weather could be dangerous, and that's why we give you the heads up a day or so ahead of time. And sometimes even a lot more frequently, you know, sometimes even a few more days than that ahead of time. It just depends on the confidence that the Storm Prediction Center has and that the local National Weather Services offices have for severe weather going into this event. Elva, let's hope I get some thunderstorms here soon. Yeah, well, we're getting closer to spring. Actually, spring is next week, guys. So if you are welcoming spring in, yes, I believe The first day of spring is on Monday. Yes, the first day of spring is next Monday. So we are getting ever so closer to spring equinox. You're from Mena, Arkansas. Thanks for joining, Caleb. Yes, if you were in Mena, Arkansas, I'll zoom in just to show you. Arkansas, there in the Mena region, you are just right in that slight risk. You're level 2 of 5. You're very close, however, to the level 3 of 5, so do take that seriously. Again, have multiple ways to receive warnings, watches, and everything like that tomorrow, Caleb, and you will stay safe from these storms. Yeah, in a couple weeks, yeah, you should be starting to get more thunderstorms, especially if you live in the south and southeast there, Rain Maves. What's my point of view for Montgomery, Texas? Samantha says. Let me look and see. Again, I'm not too familiar with some of these smaller towns here, but I will look them up on my laptop to see where, in regards to that city, is in the Montgomery region, and I will let you know your risk category for tomorrow. So you're just to the northwest of Houston. All right. So, yes, you are in that slight risk for severe weather down here into Montgomery, Texas tomorrow. So if you live in the Montgomery region, yes, you are under a slight risk for severe weather tomorrow. So that includes all hazards. That includes that 2% shading for tornadoes, a 15% shade for damaging winds, and for hail, I do believe, let me go back here because I don't want to get this wrong. The hail threat for you tomorrow, you are under a, yes, you are under a 15% hail risk as well. So you're under pretty decent risk for some severe hazards tomorrow. Again, that also includes tornadoes down there in the Montgomery region. So you want to be weather aware. And again, I will be going live most likely tomorrow afternoon, mid to late afternoon, and through the evening hours to keep you guys ahead of the storm as well. So you can tune in here as well, as I most likely will be going live later on tomorrow. Again, guys, keep pressing the like button. It would be nice if you guys would help me get up to 100 likes or more on the live stream. I definitely appreciate all the likes out there, all the support. As you guys well know, we're over 25,200 subscribers now on the channel. If you want to help out in growing this community and this page, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Much appreciated, guys. Thank you so much. Last check, we're at 25,204 subscribers. My goal by the end of March would be 30,000. I know it's a stretch, but guys, if you guys, each and every one of you press the subscribe button, it really does go a long way in helping out and supporting the page. So hit the subscribe button. And again, you guys get all of my weather forecasts each and every morning. If you like detailed weather breakdowns, this is the place for you on YouTube. I definitely appreciate it. And again, all the support out there. You guys are an amazing audience. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Samantha. Michelle, stay safe all for all those in harm's way. Yes, exactly. Yes, you want to have multiple ways to get watches, warnings tomorrow. Do stay safe out there. Know what to do if you have a tornado warning. Where do you go during a tornado warning? A basement or the lowest, most interior room or a storm shelter. And of course, if you don't have a basement or storm shelter, the lowest, most interior room away from windows. And again, you will stay safe. If you are on a tornado warning as well, you want to have multiple ways to stay safe, whether or not it's in a basement. You could have a bicycle helmet. You could also have a football helmet, anything on. If you have what do you call them? Steel-toed boots or some type of shoe on, because of if there's a debris after the storm has passed, you don't want to be walking around on debris with bare feet or socks or anything like that. You definitely want to have shoes or boots on of some sort. So that is some good tips for you guys as well. Nathan says, will there be any tornado risk here in Houston? Yes, I do believe so. Let me go back to the tornado risk in the Houston area here for you. Especially, yeah, right along and north of Houston there. Houston's at the lower chance for tornadoes, but if there is a chance, there is a chance. So you got a 2% chance there of tornadoes within a 25-mile radius. So this does probably include the League City, Victoria, Texas area, and Beaumont as well. You're pretty close to that 2% risk. Again, that is a 25-mile radius. So even if you're right along that line or outside of it, you still have a chance of tornadoes tomorrow, at least a 2% shading there. And again, most of this also covers the Austin area, San Antonio, up here toward College Station, Killeen, Waco, Temple, Round Rock region, the San Marco region, and Fredericksburg. All these areas down here into South Central Texas are at risk. This includes Interstate 45, Interstate 35, I-10, I-69 here. All those areas impacted. by the potential for some tornadoes tomorrow. Of course, the highest chance of tornadoes is up here in the North Texas, Northeast Texas, Southeastern Oklahoma, Southwestern Arkansas, and Northwestern Louisiana. Again, this includes more of the Texarkana region. Over here into Fort Worth, Dallas, Plano, Denton, McKinney, Tyler, Longview, Shreveport, on up here just southeast of Oklahoma City metro area and southwest of Little Rock. Little Rock, you still are at a risk for tornadoes tomorrow. That is a 2% shading. So if you live in Little Rock, certainly there could be a chance of tornadoes as well up there. So you want to be on high alert in Little Rock, Hot Springs, Pine Bluff, and those areas. Maybe even Greenville over here into Mississippi. You're pretty close to that 25-mile radius. So I would be on a little bit concerned for tornadoes even in the Greenville, Mississippi region as well. Tim Key, is it early in the year for these storms? For these areas, no. Usually in like late February, and especially now that we're getting into the second half of March now, this time of year, it's pretty common to get these type of risks down here. These slight enhanced risk days. But again, even if it's a slighter enhanced risk, I do want everybody to stay safe out here because we have had some dangerous severe weather this year. We've had a lot of damage from a lot of different severe weather outbreaks and tornado outbreaks, and whether, again, it's a marginal, slight, or enhanced, moderate, high risk, whatever it tends to be, we want to keep you safe. All across the United States. And yes, to answer your question, it's pretty common this time of year. And what I see happening this year, again, just to give you a little bit of climatology on what I think will happen and what usually happens with severe weather in regards to how it migrates across the United States. And I'll kind of draw this for you just briefly for you guys that want to know. So down here across portions of the South, like southeastern United States, down to the southern plains and this type of area, hopefully you guys can see that. And let me know if you can't see it, and I'll draw it in a different color. But in this area here across the southern United States, this is typically favored around late February, the winter months especially, but late February through March and really early April is the time where this area up down here is most favored for severe weather. Now, as we go through April, some of the severe weather starts to migrate a little bit farther to the north. So now we have the severe weather down in this area during the mid to late March, early April timeframe. But toward the middle of April, that actually starts to extend a little bit farther up and toward the plains. So these areas up into Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, we start to migrate some of the severe weather back westward climatologically towards the Great Plains. And then eventually, as we get through April and into May, now we start to include more of the Ohio Valley in this, the lower Midwest at least. So some of these areas start to get more active in towards the May timeframe. And that's, I think, what will happen this year. I think that when the severe weather migrates to the north, it will take some time. But once it does so, we could have a pretty decent severe weather threat going through the spring months up here, especially if you live into Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, even South Dakota. I think you guys have a pretty decent shot of severe storms as we go through the late spring months. So it will take time for this to migrate north, but once it does, we certainly will see that again. And then going a little bit further from there through May and into June, it's mainly in this area here and through the summer months up toward the north where most of the severe weather, at least more frequent and significant events will be as we get into the early summer months. But it is variable. Even sometimes, when we're switching from a La Nina to an ENSO neutral type of area, like what we're seeing now with our ENSO cycle, it could be farther south in June, like in here. It could be up in this region. It's just hard to tell that far out, but definitely climatologically speaking, that kind of goes with what we see here. So hopefully that helps everybody out in wondering when and where the severe weather climatologically would be favored going forward. Yeah, you're definitely welcome, Nathan. Is it for you? I'm not sure. I don't know where you live, Rain Mave, so I could not tell you, unfortunately, my friend. What about Natchez, Mississippi, and Adams County? Any tornado and hail and wind in that area? David says the Natchez area in Mississippi. I do want to say that's in southern Mississippi here. Let me look because, again, I'm struggling here. I'll have to look it up real quick. I'm not exactly sure where the Natchez area is. Again, I'm from the Midwest. I don't know where a lot of these smaller towns are, guys, so I apologize with that. I live in northern Illinois, so little do I know about the southern United States with smaller towns. Now, up to the north, like say if I'm tracking severe weather across northern Illinois, southern, central Wisconsin, Iowa, Indiana, I know where a lot of those smaller towns are, so I can kind of get them off the top of my head. But it's right along the Mississippi River there. Yeah, you're under a marginal risk for severe weather. There it is. I couldn't believe I couldn't see it on the screen. Yeah, the Natchez area, you are under a marginal risk, level 1 of 5 for severe weather. You're pretty close to that slight risk, and I actually would not be surprised if you see more of a slight risk upgrade here going through the day tomorrow, especially with the afternoon updates from the Storm Prediction Center. So you want to look for that. Going to the day 3 risk, there actually is a severe weather threat on day 3. So if you don't see severe weather there in the Natchez area, say tomorrow on Thursday, there is another marginal risk going into Friday down here across Natchez, Jackson, Mississippi, and this is the Friday risk now, okay? So this is a level 2 of 5. This includes Mobile, Gulfport, New Orleans, getting down here into northwest Florida. So we're talking about the Crestview area, Panama City, rather, and then Apalachicola down here, Pensacola, and the I-45 corridor, I-10, and just toward the Tallahassee region, Albany, Georgia, Montgomery, Alabama, Columbus, you guys are all at risk. The Hattiesburg and Meridian regions, and just south of Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, you guys are at risk for severe weather as we go through that Friday time frame. So hopefully you guys know where you are and know your safe spots even into Friday, as there is a chance for a couple tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail there as well. Mostly the storms on Friday will probably be more linear, so I'm more concerned Friday for a damaging wind and large hail threat. However, as we know, that QLCS tornadoes ahead of the main line could still, or right along the main line, could still spin up some tornadoes. Some QLCS type of cells in there with supercells embedded in the line could definitely spin up some tornadoes going through that Friday, especially Friday midday time frame and into the afternoon. So we'll watch that into Friday. So let's get you the timing on when to expect the severe weather. We've talked about the risks. We talked about the hazards out there, what you can expect. Now let's look at the individual models here into what we can expect. So let's turn it over here to the let's look at the HRRR model. So let's go back to the 18Z here, the most valid run. There we go. And I don't think the 0Z is not out yet. So we're going to first let's look at the setup real quick of why we see the severe weather. Because I know a lot of people, they don't like me going over this, but, it is important to seeing why we see severe weather and, and why we see these events. And so it kind of gives you more education on when you see this on a weather map. This gives you like, okay, we might have severe weather. So let's look at this on a map, and let me get rid of the severe weather outlook on here real quick so we can see this fully. All right, so let's go on here and let's look first at our temperatures, because that is important. So first we look at the thermodynamics in the atmosphere and we see, okay, well, why do we have severe weather? Well, going through the day tomorrow and going through the morning hours, you clearly see this is 9 a.m. on Thursday, and you have a cold front back here across the central plains and in towards portions of the front range. So all the way behind this cold front, it's cold. We got colder air, and this is all the way back here into the Rockies, here into Colorado, Wyoming, all that. We have the colder, drier air behind this cold front. But ahead of the cold front, we got the warm, moist air being tossed up right along that front here into much of the southern plains and the southern United States. And that battle zone between the cold air here into the morning hours and the warm, moist air down on the southeastern side of this front, that is going to be trouble as we warm up here with the peak daytime heating through the day on Thursday. So let's move into the afternoon hours here. This is about 2 o'clock, and look at how defined this cold front gets, guys. And I'll go down here and show you how warm we'll get. Into the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, we'll be down to about we'll be up to 78, 79 degrees by 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. Abilene, we could be up to the low 80s, 81, 82 degrees. Lubbock, we could be up to about 72. The Norman, Oklahoma region, we could be down here around 70, 71 degrees. But look at the difference in the gradient in our temperature temperatures as we go through central portions of Oklahoma. So the Oklahoma City, Norman area will be in the low 70s, but look at Amarillo. It's 41 degrees, 41 degrees by 2 o'clock here. That is a very, very sharp cold front, and it's that difference here between Lubbock there in the 70-degree mark, and it's going to be 40, a 30-degree temperature swing between Amarillo and Lubbock at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, and that is the difference. So that why we see those thunderstorms so intense, and why we even see thunderstorms in the first place down here, because you got all that lift. You got the lifting mechanism right along that cold front. You got to lift all this warm air up. Remember, warm air wants to rise. So when you have the cold air moving in from the north and you have that battle zone going on right in this area here, warm air wants to rise. So that means the warmer air rises. It creates clouds, or those cumulonimbus clouds you need for thunderstorms. And then boom, you get thunderstorms. And if they get tall enough, you have some big hail cores like we expect down here into North Texas. We can get those 40, 50,000 foot tops with those big golf ball size hailstones or larger. Of course, you get the strong downdrafts with a good rush of wind coming down from the thunderstorm, or even tornadoes. And that's another thing we have to look at here in a moment, is the wind shear with this as well. So as we go through the afternoon, this is 4 o'clock now, and just look at the cold front. I mean, this is real impressive. It's been a while since I've seen this in North Texas. Again, it happens pretty frequently, but we haven't seen much of a strong cold front this year like this into North Texas. So just northwest of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, it'll be 83 degrees at 4 o'clock up here, and that's around, say, the Wichita Falls region, okay? So that's Wichita Falls or so. We're about 83 degrees, and then back toward Vernon, it's already in the low 60s, and then as we go up toward like Elk City, Oklahoma, 46 degrees by 4 o'clock. It's just a sharp gradient here, and it's that lifting mechanism with that cold front right through here, and that's where we're going to see the storms that I'll show you in a minute of where they will initiate as we go through the day on Thursday. So now we got to look at something else here, and you see the warmer temperatures, but let's look at the dew points, because this is important as well. And you know, outlining the threat for severe weather. So 1 o'clock in the afternoon here, as we go in towards Thursday, early afternoon, you can see the dew points will be up in the 60s. We got a 62-degree dew point up here into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Farther south, dew points will be a little higher because it's in closer proximity to the Gulf of Mexico. So we got Austin, San Antonio, and Houston here into the 65, 70-degree dew points. We could even be closing in on low 70s with our dew points down here into the Rio Grande Valley, into the Corpus Christi. So plenty of moisture to go around, and that actually streams all the way up toward eastern portions of Oklahoma. Dew points will be in the upper 50s and low 60s. So we're not lacking in the moisture department with this at all. So we have the thermodynamics. They're checking out. So put a check by that, because we have the thermodynamics. We have the warm temperatures with the cold air surging in behind that cold front, and we certainly have some warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico streaming up into this region here as we go through the early and middle portion of our Thursday afternoon tomorrow. Now, the third ingredient, again, you can't put a cake together without the frosting. So when we put the frosting on top, we have to look at the wind shear, okay? So this is important. As we go through the day, this is the wind speed here. And a lot of these winds will be coming in and out of the south or the southeast here at times. So we have a little bit of that going on. They're not too terribly strong, but we still could see some sustained winds anywhere from about 10 to 20 miles an hour down here. Again, a decent winds, strong straight line winds here with this system as that cold front comes in, because we have the veering of the winds, but we have to look at the low level jet as well. And we'll look at that here just 1 second here once I find it. So let's look at the mid-level jet first, because this is important. We have a decent trough moving in out west. Again, this is an interesting trough as well. It's kind of elongated, and it's going to be meeting up with another trough across the north. So this system is going to be kind of what we call phasing together, and it's going to be meeting another trough that's up here across the north. So we can outline that here. We got a little bit of a trough here, and then we got a more kind of elongated trough down here, and they're going to meet together somewhere up in this region as we head through the day on Thursday to Friday. And that's why with that colder air pushing south, we're going to have a snow side with some snowfall up in this region here as we go in toward the day on Thursday into Friday here. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. But concerning the wind shear threat, you definitely see we have westerlies and southwesterlies in the jet stream here, moving out of the desert southwest into the southern plains here. And you can see that here, very strong winds in the mid levels of the atmosphere. And then we turn over to the low level jet here. This is the 850 millibar winds. And this is what you really have to look at for tornado genesis. And you see there's a pretty decent low level jet with this system as we go through the afternoon and evening there on Thursday. This is early to mid afternoon, and you can see it's moving out of the south southwest. And remember, the mid level jet is coming in like this. So whenever you see kind of a crisscross in the winds like that here, and kind of right over that area here, we really have to be concerned about tornadoes. And that is something we are going to be watching through the day tomorrow as we go across southeastern Oklahoma, northern and northeast Texas, southwestern Arkansas, and in towards northwestern Louisiana as well. That is for sure. Nor'easter the middle of next week. I'm not really seeing something. It's possible, Ron, but I don't think. Again, it's a little far out, and there's a lot of disagreement in the weather models. I will defer you to my weather forecasts in the morning at 9 a.m. for that. I'm not going to really be going over that in this live stream, but it's possible. I'll say I looked at some of the guidance earlier, Ron, and I see there could be a nor'easter, but again, it's too far out. Some models have it going into the northeast, like this past storm. Others have it offshore into the western Atlantic. I don't really see a lot of agreement there, so I will defer you to my 9 a.m. weather forecast every morning for updates on that. All right, so we'll be doing that. I live like 1.5 miles away from the EF2 tornado that went through Pasadena, Texas. Oh, Nathan, all right, gotcha. Did that happen this year? Or I'm not too familiar with that Pasadena tornado event. There's been a lot of tornado events this year. I can't even remember because it's already been so active, and especially January and February already, and even early March it's been active at times. What about the warm water temperature in the Gulf of Mexico? Yes, we already talked about that. Yes, the dew points will be rising through the day on Thursday. And the Gulf of Mexico is very important this year. It really is. For severe weather this season, I mean, the Gulf of Mexico is boiling down here, and it's just a matter of time before this starts to move even farther north. So that's why I think the Midwest, especially the lower Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Central Plains are going to be big areas this year, especially as we get into May. I think May and June are going to be big severe weather months for the lower Midwest up here. So places like Chicago, Des Moines, getting in toward Lincoln, Nebraska, Omaha, maybe even like Topeka, Wichita, Kansas City, and then over here toward like Detroit, Toledo, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Columbus. You guys are all going to be at a higher risk for severe weather, I think, as we get later on through the spring months and like I said, like May and June. So you want to be on the lookout for that. But again, it's so far out, we don't have much consensus on that right now. Just a general big picture wise, the Gulf of Mexico is warm, and it's not going to take much of a strong weather system to pull all this Gulf of Mexico moisture farther north. Just remember, if we got a strong low pressure system off the lee side of the Rockies and it moves to the north and east, you have a warm front up here, and then you have a cold front down in this area, and all it has to do is pull up all that Gulf of Mexico moisture, and boom, you got some big severe storms up here into the Midwest with even some rotation. So we'll have to watch that later in spring. Hello from Marlow, Oklahoma. Just one more. Thank you for joining Just One More. If you haven't pressed that like button or subscribe, definitely, again, all you guys, press that like button, subscribe. Consider subscribing if you have not already. Thanks to you guys, we're already up to 25,206 subscribers as of this evening. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. All right, let's go to now let's look at the timing, because I promised you that. We looked at the setup here. Let's look at the timing for the severe weather. And we could spend all day on the max updraft helicity and the CAPE values and the significant tornado parameter. At the end of the day, yeah, those things matter, but we've already kind of generalized what we can see throughout the day tomorrow. So let's kind of look at this. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, and you can see we already see initiation of storms. Now, initially, these are going to be more isolated and widely scattered to the north. Excuse me, this will be across central Oklahoma here, right around the Oklahoma City area, getting back into the panhandle of Texas, so like the Amarillo region. Some of these storms could be supercells, but initially they're not going to be too severe. Okay, we're not going to see anything too strong from these. Maybe some hail, maybe some damaging winds, but I think the rotation initially early in the afternoon tomorrow will be pretty sparse and far between. A lot of these few and far between is what I wanted to say with these storms. But as we go later into the afternoon, now we're talking about 3 o'clock here, we start to see some interesting things happen in a couple different spots. So we have to watch these areas up here into portions of, say, southern Oklahoma. So if you live right along and north of the Red River, we have to watch some of these storms. These could be the ones that produce those very big hailstones. We're talking over 2 inches in diameter, some damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour, and perhaps some, spin up tornadoes, because you have all this free space. If the HRRR model's right, in this area here, there's nothing going on. Maybe some sunshine even during the mid-afternoon by 3 o'clock, and we have a lot of inflow into some of these storms on the southeastern side, so we'll have to watch that. The second area of concern will be down here into southwestern Arkansas into northeast Texas, so around the Texarkana region, Mena, Arkansas, down toward the Tyler, Texas, Shreveport, Longview region. Some of those storms will be potentially rotating, if not producing some damaging winds and large hail as well. But I think our big hailers will be back here in this area that's kind of in the dashed line that I put at here. That is where the big hailers will start to develop by 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Now let's go to 5 o'clock. What we're seeing here. So again, a couple areas we have to watch. We have to watch East Texas into northwestern Arkansas here, northwestern Louisiana rather, into southwestern Arkansas. These ones could be rotating a little bit, producing some damaging winds and large hail. But I think the strongest of the storms will be right back here along the cold front and just ahead of it. We really have to watch these storms back into portions, say, of like southeastern Oklahoma, north central Texas. These ones near the Red River could be very feisty. We could be seeing some extremely large hail. And again, I can't even rule out tennis ball size hail with the dynamics I'm looking at with this as we go through the day tomorrow. So again, over 2 inches in diameter, maybe even 3-inch in diameter hail potentially with some of these supercells down across the Red River area, southeastern Oklahoma, North Texas. This will include near and north of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex by 5 o'clock here. And of course, we don't have a lot of storm action down to the southeast side of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So what this means is any one of these storms could have strong enough inflow in them to where we'll have these rotate. We'll have these supercells develop, and those could also, drop tornadoes that could reach the ground as well. And those could be rotating with some tornado warnings going through the late afternoon, so 5 o'clock or so. Then as we get into the early evening, this is when things really start to pick up and start to get towards the peak of the event now. We're getting through the evening hours. This is 7 o'clock. Again, we still have to watch out with these prefrontal storms out here. Again, they kind of train over the same area, so we might have a little bit more of a concern of flash flooding actually into East Texas here, northwestern portions of Louisiana to southern Arkansas. Again, you see a lot of these storms hanging around for hours and hours and hours tomorrow afternoon and early evening. That will be a concern more of flash flooding. And again, some of these storms, if the HRRR is right with the model here, as these storms train over the same areas from southwest to northeast across this region, it's going to kind of take a lot of energy and kind of emphasis out of the atmosphere. So all the energy that's untapped will be back here behind the cold front here and along the cold front. So I think the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, if you live in like McKinney, Texas, Dallas, Arlington, Fort Worth, getting down here into northeast Texas, Sherman, you really want to be on high alert, because this model in particular wants to put a decent squall line through your area. So I could very well see widespread severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, or even, potentially some flash flood warnings down in this area as well going through that time frame. And then by the time we get to 9 p.m., as we get into 9 p.m. on Thursday, we're going to see, again, look at this, guys. The same areas here are going to have more storms just moving over the same areas, and that is really a concern. So if you live in, say, like Longview, Tyler, Texas, to Shreveport, on up to Little Rock, and even Memphis, I want to really be concerned about some flash flooding in your area. But look at the squall line back behind that. This is going to be the one that propagates more progressively to the southeast here into that warmer air, and this will turn into more of a widespread damaging wind threat by mid to late evening. And then after midnight, this is about midnight, 1 a.m., we're going to see more of these outflow boundaries, and these storms will become more outflow dominant. So we're going to see more damaging winds and heavy rain rather than tornadoes. But we still could have some spin up tornadoes as this drops southeast closer toward Houston, San Antonio, the Baton Rouge region, Monroe, Louisiana, Lafayette, and then in toward Jackson, Mississippi down here as well after midnight going into Friday morning. But again, this is an unfavorable time of day for severe weather generally, even if you're across the south. This is after midnight, so we'll just have to keep tabs on that. And by the time we get to 4 a.m., again, the outflow will start to lose its structure a little bit more down here towards portions of coastal Texas and southwest Louisiana. Still could have some strong 50, 60 mile an hour winds. Otherwise, this is mainly it's mainly going to turn into a heavy rain threat more than anything else all across this region. So if you live anywhere from East Texas, northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and toward portions of north central Mississippi, even northern Alabama into Tennessee, just please, please, please watch out for some flash flooding. A lot of rainfall over the past few weeks across this region, and even more heavy rain, even though some of these storms are progressive, but they will be efficient rainfall producers with all the moisture I was showing you. And again, it's still raining. Dallas, Fort Worth, down to Killeen, Texas, Austin, Shreveport, as we get into the morning hours for your Friday morning commute down here across much of the deep south. So all these areas will be raining most likely toward the 6, 7, 8 o'clock time frame with some rumbles of thunder, maybe some strong to severe storms embedded in that, maybe moving through the Jackson, Mississippi region there, or like Baton Rouge and the Beaumont, Houston region, Galveston. All you guys could be seeing some stronger storms going into Friday morning. Then we transition into the day on Friday. Again, the same setup as we go through Friday. Again, we have a squall line that starts to re-intensify. So as it weakens during the early morning, as we get the daytime heating again, we have that slight risk down in this general zone here, and these storms will be propagating across those regions late morning into the early afternoon and producing more damaging winds, large hail, and embedded tornadoes as well. This will be for more than New Orleans, Gulfport, Mobile, Pensacola, Panama City, Tallahassee, Montgomery, Columbus region. All these areas will be impacted by that going through the day on Friday. This will be mainly midday into the afternoon hours. We'll have to watch out for those strong to severe storms with embedded tornado warnings in there as well through that time frame. Do I think the SPC will get any... Or, oh, I thought you said SPC. Do you think upstate South Carolina will get any snow next week? No, I don't think so. No, I don't see that there. I do not see that in South Carolina. Living in the wrong state, and again, the sun angle is a lot higher now than it was, especially since we're getting closer now to spring equinox, which is on Monday. And no, I do not see that across upstate South Carolina. But thank you for the question. Please try not to spam, though. I know if you guys have questions, again, I appreciate your questions. I welcome them, but please don't spam the page and keep asking the same questions again. Please, Roman, do not keep spamming. I know a lot of other people have questions as well, and if you keep spamming it, I'll have to time you out. So please do not do that. Otherwise, I'll have to time you out of the chat, all right? I appreciate the question, though. Let's see. This is good schooling. Well, I'm glad I give you some educational tools to work with here, Tim. So, thank you for joining again. Appreciate it. Do you think Oak Ridge, Tennessee, any kind of snow this time around? The Oak Ridge area into Tennessee? No, this is all going to be rain, I do believe, for the Tennessee region here. Yes, all rain. I'll go to the precipitation type here. And you can see it's all rain. The snow was going to be well up to the north. So we're not even talking really much of the United States. Again, there will be snow up here to the north, like across places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, back here into western Iowa and stuff like that. But the heaviest of the snow will be on up into these regions up here into southeastern Canada. So we're talking about like Ontario, Quebec, the UP of Michigan there in toward the United States. But other than that, a lot of the heaviest of the snow from this winter storm or the storm in general will be up into Ontario and Quebec, Canada. And this will actually be north of Ottawa, Toronto, and Montreal for the most part with that snow. So it's way, way, way up north with this setup with the snowfall. So that is currently what we are seeing with this setup as we go into this week. Do you think Kansas getting any accumulation this weekend for snow? Certainly, I think there's a possibility. And let's look at that using the HRRR model. Let's go 48 hours. Okay. Yeah, let's look at the snowfall accumulation as I promised earlier on. again, the models have trended downward in the past few runs from the. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold here, guys, so I apologize. This is like my third cold I've had in like 2 months, so bear with me here. But yes, we're seeing a couple inches of snow possible down here into Kansas. Now, is it going to be an all-out like blizzard or winter storm necessarily, or what you would consider a snowstorm? Probably not. But if you live in like northern and northwest Kansas, I can't rule out 1 to 3 inches worth of snow is certainly a possibility. Some heavier snow up here in the northern portions, northeastern Nebraska, southeastern South Dakota, like Sioux Falls down here to Sioux City. Maybe a good 2 to 4 inches of snow for you. And then getting up toward like the St. Cloud, St. Paul, Minneapolis region, the Twin Cities, a good 3 to 6 inches up here. Duluth, Minnesota, maybe a half a foot up here. The Marquette, Michigan region and the UP up here, we could see a little bit of some lake enhancement to some of the snow. So certainly we could be seeing over a half foot of snow up into these regions. But by far, you see the heaviest of the snow into Ontario, southern Ontario here. We could see over a foot, potentially 12 to 18 inches of snow across some of these areas. So like Thunder Bay over here toward the Timmins region, we definitely could be seeing some very heavy snow. Near just north of Sault Ste. Marie, or however you pronounce that, there in the UP of Michigan, so farther to the north. So just east of Thunder Bay and west of Timmins in that area, about 12 to 18 inches is a good bet of snow with this system. And even some half a foot snow totals will be found there into western portions of Quebec, so like in these areas up in here, and then that 12 to 18 inches will be up there into southern portions of Ontario. All right. There is a distinct chance that the Phoenix metro area sees a spin-up tornado tonight. I mean, maybe. There's been a couple of tornado warnings back in towards, say, like California. Like a couple days ago, I was seeing that, but you're saying tonight? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see that there's a possibility here back toward the Phoenix region, but I'm not seeing anything like nothing like we're going to see in Texas. Now, there could be a brief spin up tornado. I could agree with you there. I mean, there could be some inflow into some of these storms here on the southeastern side of Phoenix, especially, but I really don't see like a major tornado outbreak. Not in Arizona. The air is just too dry, and again, tornadoes love warm, moist air being lifted up, and then you have all the colder air, drier air coming in behind that. Not to say we're not going to see that there in Phoenix, but I don't think the chance of tornadoes is that great. But sure, maybe a spin up tornado is possible. I definitely agree with that. The possibility. And I don't think the Storm Prediction Center, let me look, I don't think they even have a risk over there into Phoenix, do they? Oh, they do. Okay, so yeah, interesting. Do they even have a tornado risk? That'll be even more interesting. I've not looked at this today, so they do not. So the Storm Prediction Center has not outlined any of this area with a 2% shading for tornadoes, but certainly there could be some maybe a spin up. I can't rule that out, but definitely something to watch going through the evening hours there into the Phoenix region. All right, so certainly not a tornado outbreak, but definitely something to watch going forward. All right. Does anybody have any more questions for me here on the live stream? I know we're going to talk about the rivers now. I said at the end of the live stream we're going to talk about some of the rivers because we do have a warm up on the way. So let's go over to the GFS model, or at least let me look here at the European real quick. Let me look at the European model, see if we can bring up the temperatures on here. All right, let's look at the European model for temperatures. Okay, moving forward, again, we do have a deep snowpack, and I don't know if I can show you the snow depth up here with this. Let me see if I can find that here, because that would be very interesting. Let me look and see the GFS, see if the GFS can show it, our snow depth. I don't see anything that I could use for that right now. Does the NAM show it? Snow depth. Just give me one moment, guys. I apologize. I'm trying to look for the snow depth on here because it is important. But okay, so there's not a snow depth. It's not showing it on here, but there is. I know I looked at it. There's a lot of snow on the ground up here in towards portions of the upper Midwest. We've had a lot of snow events, even more snow on the way. And up in this region here, there is a decent amount of snow on the ground right now up in those areas because they have been hit hard this winter with a lot of snow. And you can see that here reflected on the temperatures. Look at all these brighter colors, like along and northwest of there towards like North Dakota and stuff like that. I kind of drew a smiley face, my bad. But up to the Fargo region, into North Dakota, northern Minnesota, yeah, there's a lot of snow on the ground. So we definitely could see some colder air moving in over top that snowpack. But you notice to the south, there's a lot of warmer air. Watch as we go further in time here. As we go further down the road, this goes 100, 240 hours out. I know that's a crazy amount of time, but as we go toward late next week, look at the backside of the storm system actually brings colder air down. Okay, so it brings colder air down. So we're not too worried about any melting going on through much of next week across this region. So if we got any melting going on, it's going to be halted as we go into next week with all this cold air moving south, because we're talking about temperatures that are going to be down in the teens and single digits, even below zero up here into North Dakota, especially western North Dakota, eastern Montana, getting up into southern portions of Saskatchewan, southwestern Manitoba. So that is interesting going into the 18th time frame. I guess that would be this weekend. That'd be on Saturday. And then going to the 19th, this is on Sunday morning. This is 7 a.m. Yeah, you're getting ready for church out there, running your errands on Sunday morning. It's going to be a cold one. And this will actually be a cold front that goes all the way south toward the southern United States. Like I said, Dallas, Fort Worth, we'd be lucky to wake up above freezing on Sunday morning down here. And that freezing line goes all the way south here and toward the southern United States. You can see where the whites and the pinks come together down here. This is the freezing line, kind of right in this zone, generally, right as we go in towards that Sunday morning time frame. So anything north of this line is well below freezing. So we're not going to be seeing much in the way of snow melt going into this weekend. However, that said, let's go into next week now. We're talking about the 20th time frame. We start to turn the winds around a little bit from the southwest out here across portions of, say, the desert southwest. So we start to turn the winds around. However, we still have a little bit of an influence of that trough up here across the United States. So we still have that colder air moving farther south up into this region. So we don't have a lot of snow melt still as we go in towards the early portion of next week. But those winds are starting to turn around on the backside of this trough as it continues. This trough continues to move off to the north and east. All right. So I'll kind of zoom this out so you can see it. Going into even earlier on next week, you can see, did not mean to do that. The trough starts to kick off a little bit farther to the north and east. So you see the trough more kind of like this here, farther to the east. And then we have a little bit of that return flow from the south here on the backside of this trough. Now, again, of course, across the upper elevations of the Rockies and the northern plains, we have a deeper snowpack, especially as you go up in elevation. So we're going to see colder temperatures. You will see pinks and purples out here, even into April and even May, into those higher elevations of the Rockies. That's just going to happen with a lot of the snowpack out here. But as we go through next week, I know we're getting far out now, but again, you can rely on the trends here a little bit, that we have that trough. Now the trough by the middle of next week is off into southern Canada now. So we're getting rid of that trough here in the United States, and we have a lot of return flow here across the middle of the country. We have warmer temperatures. Now, again, is it going to be 80, 90 degrees in Kansas? No, but it will be warmer as we go towards, say, the middle of next week, say the 22nd time frame by Wednesday next week. And then even further on, there are signs there could be some type of storm system developing by the late next week. Now, again, this is far out. We will track it. This is about 7 to 10 days out, but you do see there are trends, and I've seen trends in the last few runs here of some of the guidance. The European model, the Canadian model, and the GFS American model showing some pretty decent return flow, not only for the southern central plains, but on up here into the Midwest. So the first decent chance for snowmelt, like say for the Wisconsin River, places like the Illinois River, the Mississippi River on up here in the mid-Mississippi Valley or upper Mississippi Valley region, some of these river basins will start to melt a little bit. So like the Mississippi River on up through here, you got the Wisconsin River kind of like that, and then you got the Illinois River as well that kind of runs through there. So as we got a little bit of some snow melt expected with some of this area as we go in towards the middle to end of the week. And then certainly we have some of these temperatures. Now, this model showing 40s and 50s all the way up into southwest Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and stuff like that going in towards the end of next week. Now, this could be underdone, this could be overdone, or it could be just outright correct. So we'll just wait and see how that works out. But all signs do point. And again, I looked at the Climate Prediction Center for what they expect in the long range, and they actually expect a little bit of a pattern flip flop toward the end of March. So we have more troughs digging down across the western United States and more ridging kind of building out to the east here. So that is kind of what we're seeing. And in between there, that would be the area we have to watch for low pressure systems to develop. And this is actually would be an interesting setup for severe weather across the deep south going into late next week again, because if we have a trough out west, something like this, again, this is not verbatim, so don't take this and run with it, but just take this as a grain of salt. But looking right now at the European run, has a trough something like this with ridging out here with warmer air return flow across the eastern United States, and you got the colder air moving in behind that here. Somewhere in this zone, we have to watch out for a low pressure system, and then that would mean that the severe weather again would break out across that climatologically favored zone. So again, if I would watch this late next week, even though we have severe weather on Thursday tomorrow, this could ramp up again for northeast Texas, Oklahoma, the Arklatex, including Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, even Alabama, Georgia, these areas for maybe another severe weather setup going into the middle and late portion of next week. So this will be favored during that Wednesday through Saturday timeframe, sometime late next week. So this will get toward the very end of March. So this would be an interesting setup to say the least. I definitely think there are chances for severe weather starting to ramp up here towards the end of the month of March, certainly. And again, I'm looking at some of the climate models, and there are long range signs that, potentially at least will start to migrate some of the severe weather up here into, say, the Central Plains, maybe into early April. But we'll just continue to watch it. Again, that's far out, and we'll continue to track it. Now, I'm actually curious to see. Let me go back for late next week when I had that there. There's the warm air. Let me look at what the dew points look like. Just curious here. And of course, the European doesn't have it on here. The GFS model might. And here's what I wanted to note too. Look at the GFS. It tends to be more aggressive in general, but the European model had the warm up a little bit farther south into, say, this area. The GFS model actually amplifies this a little bit farther to the north. So again, there's the differences that we look for here. And that is something that we certainly have to watch out for as we go into, say, that time frame. So we'll wait and see what happens for sure. Good night, Tim. Thanks for watching. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you for joining again. I know I did the live stream a little bit later tonight. I wanted to kind of a last minute thing. Wanted to kind of get on here and talk about the severe weather threat going in towards tomorrow. And again, I will be live tomorrow, most likely, Tim. So thanks for joining. And all you guys, if you guys are on the live stream, do tune in tomorrow and tell friends, families, share this on social media, this live stream that I'm doing tonight, to get them ready for the storm. And again, if I do a live stream tomorrow, share this with friends, family, anybody you know, so we can get all this information out to as many people as possible as well. All right. So thank you so much for doing so. And again, so the GFS is not very impressive next week with the moisture. So yeah, limited moisture. So there we go. There's your answer. I think here's my guess. Here's my early estimation on if we see severe weather late next week. It's far out, but I think it'll probably be in this area again, across this area that I have in the hatched area, or in the dashed lines there. All right, somewhere in that area there'll be severe weather probably late next week. I'm pretty confident in that. Farther north from there, probably just some heavy rain setups in here, probably a snow side again somewhere up in there. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's what we see in the long range. That's what we see. So if you like long range forecasts like that, I will be doing that more in the future. All right, guys, any last questions? Thank you, Jonathan. Wow, yeah, definitely a decent setup. All right. Any last questions? Yeah, yes, you will get an update, Joannis. Yes, I will be updating you guys in the morning with another video tomorrow morning. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you, Saunders. Thanks for joining. Stay safe, everyone. Good night. Thank you, Saunders. Thanks for joining again, supporting the channel. Much appreciated. again. So anybody have any last questions for me? Questions, comments, concerns while I'm here? Otherwise, stick around for my video tomorrow. I will be posting a video like I do every morning. That'll be at 9 a.m. Central Daylight Time. You can count on that tomorrow morning. All right. Thanks, Melissa Smith, for joining. Much appreciated. Next weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania, 16001. Okay. Well, I can tell you, next weekend's a little far out, but I don't know. I mean, it's far out, but I would say there's a chance of some snow or rain up there in toward Pennsylvania. The Butler region, what I'm seeing is some snow possible, or even some rain, snow mix, stuff like that. You'll be on the northern side of a lot of these low pressure systems up there into Pennsylvania, the entire state as a whole. So I think, if anything, a rain snow mix would be a good bet for you. Just got here. I'm going to go back up to get the show. See you later. Well, thank you so much, Tsunami Tommy. Again, you guys can replay this live stream and like it and all that stuff after it's over. So thank you so much. You're welcome, Tim Key, and you're welcome, Saunders. Thank you for joining. Hopefully that answers your question there, Jimbo, for your next weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania. Yeah, just mainly a rain snow threat for you. I don't see anything too terribly significant. All right. All right, guys. I'll put the severe weather outlook on here just one more time to show you. Again, the orange color is for some severe weather going into tomorrow. That is more likely across northeast Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, and southwestern Arkansas. The yellow shaded area goes into south central Texas, northern Louisiana, southwestern portions of Arkansas, and the eastern portions there of Oklahoma. All right. And I'll leave this on the screen for just one moment so you guys can get your bearings on where you live here. And again, thanks everybody for joining. I will have another live video, or another video update tomorrow at 9 a.m. and I likely will be going live sometime after 3 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, especially into the early tomorrow evening here across the southern plains and the deep south, to do a live in-depth radar analysis on these severe thunderstorms potentially as they move through later on tomorrow. All right, guys. Thank everybody for joining. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the subscribe button. Like the live stream and my video in the morning as well. And hit the notification bell so you get notified for my live stream if I go live tomorrow, and also my video. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great and safe evening, and more so, a safe day tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining, everybody.